Hello, and welcome to another week of Burning Hearts, our 2026 Bible reading plan. This week we are reading 5 more chapters from Exodus, and these are really great, important chapters. Exodus 19 is a super important chapter. So this is in Exodus 15, that's where the story turns from the whole deliverance from Egypt thing to the wilderness and to everything that happens on the mountain and everything. I mean, like the giving of the law, the 10 Commandments, kind of changes the story. But in Exodus 19, that's where they reach Mount Sinai. And this is a super important chapter. This is where God tells Moses basically like what Israel is going to be all about. This is what he says. You have seen what I did to the Egyptians and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. You see, basically, how I am a God of freedom, of deliverance, who brought you out of slavery. That's what I want. That's the kind of God I am. He says, now, therefore, if you obey my voice and keep my commandment, or keep my covenant, you shall be a treasured possession out of all the peoples, right? And so I want to be in relationship with you, where you follow me, where you listen to me, where you gain your life and your direction, right and wrong from me, which is, if you notice, that's what Adam and Eve didn't do in the Garden of Eden. That's what God wanted, that's what they didn't do, right? And he says, indeed, this is so important, the whole earth is mine. So the whole world belongs to me. Everything belongs to me. All the peoples, everything, the whole earth is mine. But you shall be for me a priestly kingdom and a holy nation. These are the words you shall speak to the Israelites. Everyone belongs to me, the whole earth, but you are a special possession. You're a priestly kingdom and a holy nation. Holy nation means set apart, to be in relationship with God in a way that makes you different, right? But priestly kingdom is priests are people. At the simplest way of understanding it, priests bring God to people and people to God, and that's what Israel is for. That's what the kingdom of Israel is for. It's to bring God to people and people to God. They are set apart from everyone else in order to represent and to bring God to everyone else and everyone else to God. That's what they're there for. And so that kind of gets started right there in Exodus 19. It's a theme throughout the rest of the Old Testament and the New Testament. It gets continued. The church sort of becomes that. In the Old Testament, it's the thing that Israel so often failed to do, to represent God, to bring God to people or people to God. They wanted to kind of keep God for themselves. That's what Jesus is constantly wrestling with the Pharisees and the religious people. That's what the church is all about, bringing God to people and people to God. As we read this week in Exodus, you're going to see some great things. You're going to see the 10 Commandments are given, and pay attention there. Pay attention to how God defines himself as the God who brought you out of slavery. This is who God is. It kind of defines life in God's covenant. You're going to read chapter 24, 25. This is where Israel agrees to live in God's covenant family, and where God appears to them and they see God in a way. It's quite fascinating. It really lifts up kind of the glory, the power, the majesty, the might of God, how being in God's presence takes a certain holiness, a certain cleanliness, that the sacrifices and the blood and all that, that's what that's all about. In chapter 25, you're going to see, and there's a whole bunch of chapters that are like this, but basically instructions for the tabernacle, for this movable tent where God's going to dwell. Because the point here in the Old Testament, it's not that we go to heaven to be with God. The point is for God to dwell with us. And that's a huge theme in the Old Testament and in the New. The point is not to leave earth and go to be with God. The point is for God to dwell with us. And then in Exodus 32, we're skipping a bunch of important chapters, I would say skip. In Exodus 32, you see the disaster. Eve eating the apple, or eating the fruit, Adam eating the fruit. That's what it is. It is them rejecting the God who freed them, the God who made them, the God who delivered them, and instead making their own God. This is the golden calf. And this is, there's just so much to it. One of the things that's to it is God is furious, and Moses stands in for the people, and he says, basically, blot me out of life if it means saving these people. And God says, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that yet. They're going to pay for their sins. But what that line from Moses does is it sets up this idea, and you saw this reflected with Judah also in the story of Joseph and whatnot. It furthers this idea of one righteous person, Moses in this case, standing in for the unrighteous and paying, in a sense, for their sins. And this is something that obviously in the New Testament writers pick this up, Jesus picks this up, and that's why one of the reasons why you see Jesus cast as sort of a new Moses who takes on the sin of the people. All right, I've gone long enough. Have a great week of reading. Check out the Bible Project's resources on this. There's so much more to say, so if you have questions or want to talk about it, please come and talk, and have a great week of